Today we have with us two remarkable individuals to grace the Samvaad. We have the privilege of hosting Nav Agarwal, a passionate 16-year-old student, and Vihaan Agarwal, a dedicated 19-year-old studying at Stanford University. Together, they co-founded One Step Greener in 2017. Their unwavering commitment lies in waste management, recycling, and tree plantations, specifically in the National Capital Region, which is the NCR. Through their influential NGO, Nav and Vihaan have empowered over 300,000 students with valuable knowledge on waste management. The impact has made them the second Indian to receive the prestigious...
Actually caused young children to have asthma, bronchitis, and many other issues. So I just want to say thank you to both of you for joining and actually really stepping up to the challenges that we all have been facing and not many people have been addressing. I also want to say that, today the world is home to 1.8 billion young people between the age of 15 and 24. And this, in the history of mankind, has been the youngest population ever. So I think it's extremely important to hear the voices of the youth, and that's why we've had the session and a dialogue to hear the voices of the youth and put forward the agenda to G20 and to V20. So I welcome you both. And to start off, it'd be nice to kind of hear a little bit from both of you how you co-founded One Step Greener and what was that mission and why you actually did that.
Hello? Yes. Thank you again for the lovely introduction. So the story starts around 5 years ago. This was 2017 when I was 11 and my brother was 14. I'm not sure if you're all are aware, but there's a landfill, essentially a dump yard in Ghazipur. And this landfill is almost as tall as one of our monuments, the Qutub Minar. And in 2017, it caught on fire, collapsed, killed 2 people, and released tons and tons of toxic gases. And now, for the next couple of weeks, school was shut, and my brother was an asthmatic. And so I saw him having asthma attacks during that time, seeing him in the hospital and seeing him in the nurse room during that period of time. And so that's when we were able to make a connection that waste does contribute to air pollution. Because beforehand and in school especially, we've always been taught that the solution for air pollution is tree plantations, right? But how much can an individual really plant? And how much of an impact can an individual create through just planting trees? And so that's when really the whole ideology came about wanting to do waste management.
I think to add to that, I think it was very important to us. From a young age, we've been really interested in the environment and we've loved nature. All of our holidays have been spent in national parks and really absorbed in our country's beautiful natural history. So for us, it was also something within ourselves that told us that we need to do something for the environment, but we really didn't know what to do. As Nav pointed out, tree plantations is not always feasible, especially in a growing city like ours. So for us, it was that connection between, okay, my waste that I'm producing is ending up in the landfill, it's catching on fire, and it's contributing to air pollution, which is affecting my lungs, essentially. So the whole process started with that, thought process, and then we researched and found out ways that, segregation of waste is the best method to do that, but that only holds true in places where your waste management system can handle segregated waste, right? So when we did start segregating waste at our own home, it would be mixed up again by the informal waste collectors. So from that, the real idea of creating something like this came about.
Thank you for sharing that, and I think it's fantastic work. We've all seen a lot of your work in Delhi, and a lot of schools also have implemented this program. So the organization really focuses on sustainability and employment, and that weaves well with our Values 20, 2 of our core themes that we have. I wanted to understand what are the core values that underpin your organization, and how has that driven you all to grow the organization in the last 5 years?
So I think definitely when we talk about values, it's important to preface that with the work we're doing, right? So we're collecting waste for free from over 10,000 households in Delhi NCR, and we're, 5 cities at the moment. And it's a monthly pickup where people are giving us their recyclable waste for free. We collect it, we ensure that it's micro-segregated in our warehouse. Our employees, we have about, the workforce is 70% women at this moment, and it's going to increase to about 80 to 90%, because frankly, women are more efficient. So, so of course, that's one aspect of our work, and, through the process, we're reaching out to, as you mentioned, 300,000 students. We're in 20 schools at the moment who are regularly giving us waste. We have a curriculum that we've created for free on waste that is circulated to schools. So from that perspective, our core values are, of course, underpinned by passion for the work, for working towards sustainability, bringing about as many good things we can do, like gender equality, as we can. Because at the end of the day, we're doing a social good, so why can't it be as good as it can be?
Absolutely. So Nav, I remember speaking to you about you all developing a curriculum. And I think it would be interesting to know a little bit more about that. I know you and 300,000 students, and you all have trained a lot of young people on sustainability and waste management. So if you can share a little bit about that.
Right. So, we realize that to create any possible impact, you have to have education, right? You have to have behavioral change. And especially with climate change, that you cannot create a proper solution, you cannot create a solution which is replicable and scalable without behavioral change, right? So it does really start from the person. And so education is a tool which we've been able to develop and use, to further this cause. And since it is Values 20, there are 3 key values which we do use in our education. Simplicity, it has to be simple. People should be able to understand what they're learning. It has to be factual in terms that, you don't want to sugarcoat anything. You have to say what it is in the way that it is. You have to tell young people, you have to tell adults that the world is, necessarily not what it should be, and it's not going to be pretty in the next 10, 20 years, right? And so that's the second point. And the third point has to be relatable, right? You have to be able to relate to the cause. You have to be able to relate to the solution so that you can actually be part of that. And so those are the kind of things which we've really incorporated in our education. And we've actually taken a step further, and we've started a volunteer program where students from the age of 14 years, and we've also had a student who's 8 years old, from all the way up to 50 to 60-year-olds have signed up with One Step Greeners to become volunteers. And now these aren't your normal volunteers who will go for tree plantations or who'll go for sessions, but they're the ones who are actually doing the work. They're the ones who are holding business meetings. They are the ones who are going to talk in stages to schools. They're fundraising for the organization. In fact, we have a couple of volunteers in the crowd today as well. Hello, Agastya. So it's this whole program about education really is instilled with the values in the organization. And that's really how we try to go about the education.
Thank you, Nav. I think it resonates very deeply with T-Guelph and with V20 because for us, we've also been working as a community of young people across the globe, taking on different opportunities and activities. So I'm sure I know you all are from Shri Ram, and which is a partner school of T-Guelph, so you're associated with the entire ethical leadership curriculum. So it's great to hear that. And now, Vihaan, you are a sophomore at Stanford, which is known to be a very tech-focused university. So I wanted to understand that in the last year, have you been able to bring in a technology aspect to your startup, to One Step Greener, through those learnings?
Yeah, so definitely I think being at a university like that, there's one the, the tangible things we're able to bring into the organization. So for example, we're trying to create software that can, recognize count trees when we're doing our massive plantations. We have our own custom management system for our, our waste collections. It's completely optimized. I mean, we're picking up waste from 10,000 homes with 2 trucks. And so, we've really been able to use technology to our benefit. So that's the tangible aspect. But intangibly, it gives you a framework to think about. So if you learn from a technological mindset, then, the way you think about things is more systematic. It's more, process-oriented. And I think that has really benefited me in, applying things to One Step Greener. I know Nav is also very interested in technology. We've been able to share a lot of learnings. So for example, we have a custom, based on GPT, of course, a custom chatbot for One Step Greener for internal purposes where people who are not trained in English can communicate with people in English. So we've been able to bring in a lot of technology, and we're moving forward with that as well.
Great, thank you. Also, you mentioned about your tree plantation drives as well as the waste collection. So I would assume that that would require a huge number of volunteers like you mentioned. It would be nice to just shed a little light on the power of the collective action that has been useful for One Step Greener.
Right. So that's a very good question, in fact. Collective action. Yeah, so the NGO really started with me and my brother, like I mentioned. And it's just been the reason, I think one of the main principles that One Step Greener has grown is due to collective action, right? There's been a support barrier for us, whether that be our parents, our family, our community, the nation, and just generally the way that this whole sector is oriented itself is that there's a lot of layers to waste management, especially in a place like India, where you have informal workers and you have different types of companies, different types of regulations, different types of compliances which you have to deal with. And so really, collective action can create a multiplier effect, right? Essentially, if One Step Greener is going to your house, picking up your waste, what you're not, apart from just signing up for One Step Greener, what you're also doing is providing employment to the informal workers, right? So we employ informal workers into our organization, identity accounts, bank accounts, all of those things are given. And so you're not only taking that waste and signing up and recycling that waste, you're offering employment. As Vihaan mentioned, gender inequality, right? Most of our workforce is women. And so it just really has a large multiplier effect, especially with our tree plantations. So this year we're planting over 20,000 trees. And we're planting them in a dense Miyawaki-style forest, which is essentially plantations where you're having trees planted really close to each other to maximize biodiversity as well as create carbon sinks in the middle of cities. And so you're having these dense urban forests in the middle of densely packed cities, which basically we're trying to do is create the largest possible impact. And the way that we've been able to use that collective action for that is we've picked out almost landfill sites or sites which have a lot of waste in them, and we've got volunteers to come who then pick up the waste, who fundraise for the trees, who take after the trees, right? And so it becomes a whole, like I said, it becomes a multiplier of one person joining the NGO into how many other people it's really impacting.
Also, to just add to that, I think, we've really put a focus on working with schools. So whether it's education or, just generally talking to them about collecting their waste. So that's really helped us in, like, for example, right now we have about 150 active volunteers with a, employee base of 30 people. So, it really, it multiplies our impact as well. Our tree plantation so far where we've planted about 2,000 trees and taken care of dense urban forests inside the city. And then we're doing 20,000 trees this year. In the past, they've been completely crowd-funded. We take care of the trees for a minimum of 3 years and up to 5 years, and that the maintenance, everything has been crowd-funded. So, collective action exists if you are able to, tap into it. And schools have really, and children, youth. I think people underestimate the power of youth, and not even the power, just how aware we are right now. Because this is affecting us right now, you know.
Absolutely. I think that really resonated. A lot of people think that the youth are victims of climate change, but really they are going to be the bearers of climate action and really taking steps to mitigate climate change in various ways. I think the point of collective action was very well driven. I want to understand that, of course, you all have been able to create an environment where a lot of volunteers, a lot of schools have supported you. But out of curiosity, how do you all manage this? You're studying at Stanford, you're in school. How are you managing to run an organization of 150 volunteers and a 30 employer base? Like, what is it, that core value that drives you all?
So I think, you know, we started this when I was 14 and I was 11. So this was always on our mind that we're going to have school, we're going to have exams, I'm going to go off to college. So we have to set up something that works on its own. So our pickups are completely independent of us. Waste pickups, people signing up, everything that's managed on its own. It's self-sustaining. In fact, there are pickups going on right now, and we're sitting in front of you and talking. So we've been able to, from the real onset, create a self-sustaining form. And even in our volunteer base, we have student leaders, right? So they themselves organize themselves and are able to take action. So I think, self-sustaining organizations was the primary focus, and that's how we've been able to manage it. But also, I think from a values perspective, we're very passionate about this, right? We're committed to doing something for the environment. So, whether it's like waking up at 3 a.m. in the US and taking a meeting, we're willing to do that. That's something that we want to do.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting and so inspiring to hear. I think there are a lot of young students also at the back, so I'm going to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions to ask these brilliant young people. I can see someone at the back with her hand up, if we can.
It's a fantastic initiative. I'm sorry I was in and out. What is the cost of sponsoring one tree?
So at the moment we're doing different projects with tree plantations. So yeah, we're going to start our crowdfunding, and our cost per tree is around 500 rupees. To take care of them for 5 years as well. So it's not only just planting them.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I know another organization that takes I mean, it's not that we're just doing a comparative or shopping around where to plant the cheapest tree, but if 500 is a very reasonable amount to plant the tree and to take care of it. That's fantastic. I'll be getting in touch. Thank you.
I think we have some questions up here as well.
I really wanted to ask, what are the bread and butter of your NGO, or what are the bread and butter for your jobs that you are doing right now, and how you manage all that?
So if I got your question right, what's the main aspect of the organization? Yeah, so I think for us, the main aspect is our waste management, right? It's and then also our urban afforestation. So both the projects, because urban afforestation is, this is the period of time where you do urban afforestation. So in terms of bread and butter, it's the waste management, and of course, as I talked about earlier, we've made it self-sustaining. Now we want to add.
Right. And, one key factor in our waste management NGO is that it's break even on a unit level. And essentially, the way that we've oriented ourselves for dry waste recyclables is that we've been able to connect to manufacturers directly. And so essentially what that means is that we're not giving it to the second man or the third or the middleman who's giving a higher rate, but we're really connecting to the end use of the manufacturer. So for example, if we are taking cardboard, right? We won't send it to a recycler who's recycling that cardboard and then selling it to a manufacturer. We're giving it to the manufacturer who sells that cardboard. And so by doing that, we're creating a circular economy. And once you do that, the source of income as well as like the bread and butter that, it's been able to really create the NGO to become almost self-sufficient in terms of our time as well as money. And so that's something which the NGO really focuses itself on.
Hello, my name's Ashana Navati. I'm with a foundation that runs a charitable school in Kerala. And first of all, it's just so inspiring to hear what both of you have done and created. I'm just wondering if you've thought of sharing this with schools outside of, because it's amazing what you're doing in Delhi, in other parts of India. Because I think what you've done would be so inspiring to our students and I think many across India. So just wanted your thoughts on that.
First of all, thank you so much for your kind words. So our curriculum is free to download on our website. It's in Hindi and English. We're planning to get into multiple languages now as well. So, anyone can download. We have a waste segregation guide, so people can start segregating their waste. We have, composting guides, so people who, want to compost their waste at home or at a school level can, create a composting with, all the science behind that as well. So that is one aspect that's already available. But, we're right now in 5 cities. We're planning to expand to a lot more. So, yeah, I think that's my answer to that.
And, definitely that, yes, we have been focusing in schools in Delhi, primarily because we've been able to get partners in Delhi. And so I would like to say we're really open to going anywhere in the world, speaking anywhere, giving as much education on this. And so we're looking for as many collaborators and partnerships to really take this NGO to different heights, and not just this NGO, but this message, right? And I think that's very important.
Yes.
Congratulations, Vihaan and Nav, on what you've done. It's fantastic and so proud of you. I have a question for you guys. You've started on this NGO track. The traditional track is you come from Banya families, I do too. You go to Stanford, you learn technology, you build a company first. You first make serious money, and then in 10, 20, 30 years from now, you come back and then you start doing charitable work. Why have you started so early? And what are the elders of your family saying? Dhanda karo, paisa banao, kya kar rahe ho ye sab tree ke saath? I want to understand your mentality. What drives you to actually do this? And what is your expectation that if I look at you in 5 years, 10 years from now, as you graduate from Stanford and you find a new semiconductor software technology where you can make $1 billion, what is going to keep you focused on this track of service rather than the track of self-enrichment?
So I think it comes down to values and my family values. And so both my grandparents, sets of grandparents, have been very fortunate that they've been with us and they're still alive today, are very committed to social work. So my Nana, he's my mother's father. He's a trustee at Akshay Patra. He has his own couple of foundations. My Dadu as well has done, my dad's father, has also done a lot of social work. And of course, my parents have also raised me with the mindset that doing good comes first, always. So it's that mindset that's really, it's ingrained in us. We began this with the mission that we want to solve a problem. We felt the best way to do it is education. And that's our primary focus. Even now, I would say that, our operations, etc., they're great. They're doing a lot of, good. But, it's the education that is primarily what we're focused on. And it's changing minds. And as Nav said, it's behavioral change, right, at the end of the day. So, yeah, as you said, of course, all of those things are exciting. I'm pursuing many things with my life. But, this is my passion. And I feel I'm fortunate enough to say that this is my life's calling. And I've discovered that very early. So I'm very happy with that.
Thank you. I just want to say a small addendum, which is we have trained 25 million children at schools in ethical, altruistic leadership. We've sent several hundred children to the US, maybe 500, 600 children from our program have gone to the top universities, the Stanfords, Harvards, Browns, Penns, etc. And the biggest risk is that you get seduced. I love to hear what you're saying now, and now you're recorded on television. And this recording is going to stay with us. Because I'm going to play it back to you in 5 years from now. Because the problem is the seduction of Western materialism. And it happens, I would say, we lose 80% of our young people to that. Because as they go into that world, their peers tell them, oh, that's fine, but look, do this, start up a company, do this, do that. And being in Silicon Valley, we see that happening. And people say, look, you'll make much more money. Later on, you can give back. Later on, you can do more. Good. Why wouldn't you do that? And so I think I liked what you said, and I'm glad your grandfathers are role models to you. And I think it's very important to keep that balance and not lose your balance as you go through this journey of life, because you're both clearly very talented and you can clearly create huge amounts of wealth. And as you create that wealth, the key is to maintain the balance and the focus always on serving as well as creating growth and contribution. If you keep that in balance, you'll do extremely well. Otherwise, unfortunately, you can get seduced to the dark side very easily. Thank you.
Yes, Pamela.
Thank you. Hi, Nav. Hi, Vihaan. I'm Pamela Doherty from the UK. I have a question that follows on from Shiv. But before I ask that, I just want to say how inspiring it is to listen to you today. And not just the story of what you've achieved and what you're achieving, but how you've communicated and engaged with us this afternoon is just top class and really, really incredible.
Thank you so much.
So my question is, clearly, we do now have you on video. And yes, there's young people in the room, but I'm sure after today, there's going to be many young people from many different countries around the world who will be listening to your message and will be inspired by it. So if there's somebody aged 11, aged 14 out there who's got an idea to make, social impact in their community, in their country, what's the one message you'd like to give to them to inspire them to succeed?
So before I give the message, I think I want to just give you a short story. This was, what happened was that when we had our waste management NGO and we were thinking about this, what happened was that we were collecting waste in our backyard because the recyclers needed X amount of quantity, and we were just adamant in not giving it to the local collectors because they would, mix it up and sell the waste. And we reached out to our neighbors, and essentially what happened was our grandfather came up to us and he told us, it's either you or the waste in the house. And so that's when we're like, okay, fine, action needs to be taken. And, we got people involved. We said, why don't you come send the waste to our house? And we expected a response in which, not many people would really contribute. But, in contrast, a lot of people did come up to us and give us waste and say, can you do this next month as well? And that's when, the idea started. But then, we came into hurdles, right? A lot of people in our family, even though, it was in our family values, and just generally everybody around us in school, my peers, they used to say, why should you focus on waste or waste management, or forget that, essentially, why would you focus on an NGO when you have schoolwork, right? And so my message is that start something, don't listen to people. People will, especially at a young age, try to pull you down, try to say that, you shouldn't do it, you don't have any expertise in this, you'll ruin your life, these are the couple of years which you should be spending on education. And what I would like to say is, if you're passionate about something, don't really think about what other people are saying, just go for it. And if you make mistakes, you make mistakes. In the end, you just learn. And I think that's the best thing you can possibly do.
I think we're running out of time, but the two of them will be here through the evening, so all of you can get a chance to speak with them. I want to end the panel, the Samvaad, the conversation, by just saying that it's been truly inspiring. I think I can speak on behalf of everyone sitting here to speak with the two of you and really understand what drives you both and the values that you hold true to in your work and in your own personal lives. And I think just the power that the youth possesses today is extremely huge, and I think we have the power to really hold leaders accountable and leaders globally in India and all over really to say that climate change is real and we need to do something about it. And also want to say congratulations on making India and the world very proud of getting the International Children's Peace Prize Award in 2021. So thank you so much for that, and hope to see you all soon in the next session. There's someone saying something? Is that? No. Okay, I think there's one more question we've been asked to. Okay, sorry, this is the last question. These two are too good to leave them without too many questions. So there's one more question from a young student.
Good evening. My name is Atisha Jain and I come from Springdale School, Pusa Road. So firstly, I would like to congratulate you both for achieving such big idea at a young age. Okay, like me as a student, I'm seeing you both sit there. It's really inspiring. Now, my question to you would be, how do you communicate with the schools? Like, the schools also generate a lot of waste, and that also needs management. So, as a school, as a student, I would like to ask you, how do you communicate with the schools, and how would you plan their waste management? Because we would also like to join this idea of yours.
Come talk to me after. Yeah, but it's very easy. You just go on our website. It's onestopgreener.org, and then you just click what you want to do. If you want to volunteer, you want to connect your school. As soon as you send a message, within an hour, you'll get a reply back. So we'll set that up for you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Devika, Vihaan, and Nav for such a thought-provoking session. It was truly wonderful to hear both of you talk today, and I think we have learned a lot that there's actually no age bar when it comes to making a change, and these two truly prove it. Please give them another warm round of applause because it was a wonderful session.